This is every WWE wrestler archetype explained, starting with the powerhouse. The powerhouse's entire identity revolves around raw strength. Guys like Batista, Goldberg, Bobby Lashley, and Ryback built their careers on this mantra. They're the guys who bench press other wrestlers for fun and make lifting 300-pound opponents look effortless. Suplexes, slams, and power bombs are their bread and butter. But here's the thing. The powerhouse needs to evolve beyond just muscles to stay relevant. The ones who add character work and storytelling to their arsenal become legends, but the ones who don't, they simply fade away into obscurity once the novelty wears off. But while the powerhouse can be a good guy or bad guy, the monster heel is pure evil. This is the guy who doesn't just beat you, he destroys you. Kane, Khali, Braun Strowman, and Omos are perfect examples of this archetype. These are the 7-foot giants who are booked to be unstoppable forces of nature. These guys rack up squash matches like it's nothing, demolishing multiple opponents in under minutes. The problem with the monster heel is sustainability. You can only be unbeatable for so long before someone has to beat you, and when that happens, the mystique is gone. Some adapt and evolve their character like Kane, but others like Khali never recover from their first major loss. But going from earth-shaking power to gravity-defying antics, let's talk about the high flyer. The high flyer is all about speed, agility, and making the impossible look easy. Rey Mysterio is the godfather of this archetype, and other wrestlers like Jeff Hardy, Ricochet, Evan Bourne carried the tradition forward. These are the wrestlers hitting moonsaults, shooting star presses, and springboard moves that make you wonder if they're actually human. High flyers have shorter career spans unless they learn to work smarter. The smart ones slow down as they age, adding psychology and storytelling like Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles did later in the careers. But the ones who don't slow down, they're usually retired by 35 with broken bodies and a highlight reel on YouTube. However, some wrestlers push things too far and turn into the high flyer's annoying cousin. The spot monkey does all the flips and dives, but there's one crucial difference. There's no psychology, no story, just moves for the sake of doing moves. These wrestlers treat every match like a gymnastics routine rather than a fight. Will Ospreay got criticized for this early in his career, and even Ricochet catches heat from hardcore fans for being too spot-heavy. The problem isn't the athleticism, it's that these matches feel like video game exhibitions rather than wrestling contests. There's no selling, no emotional investment, just constant high spots that eventually lose their impact. The spot monkey can evolve into a complete wrestler by learning when to slow down and let moments breathe, but many never figure this out and turn into forgettable performers who fans don't truly connect with. But moving on from the high flyer's flashy move, let's talk about the backbone of wrestling, the workhorse. The workhorse is the guy who shows up every single night, works house shows on Saturday, TV tapings on Monday, and still delivers at the pay-per-view on Sunday. They're not always the most talented or the most charismatic, but they're the most reliable. Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and Sheamus are perfect examples. They'll wrestle anyone, any style, and somehow make their opponent look better than they actually are. The workhorse carries the company when stars are injured or part-timers aren't around. Management loves them because they never complain about their spot, but they often get taken for granted. While flashier wrestlers get the main event pushes, the workhorse gets stuck in the midcard having great matches nobody remembers. But while the workhorse brings consistency, the ring general brings mastery. The ring general doesn't just have good matches, they control every single second of action like a conductor leading an orchestra. Bret Hart perfected this archetype, and guys like Gunther and Chad Gable carry it forward today. The ring general knows exactly when to speed up, when to slow down, and how to structure a match for maximum impact. They're so focused on in-ring perfection that their promo skills usually lag behind. Cesaro is the tragic example. One of the best workers in WWE history, but could never cut the promo needed to reach that top level. The ring general needs a mouthpiece or incredible charisma to break through to the main event. Otherwise, they're stuck being the guy who has great matches without ever becoming the face of the company. But speaking of promos, let's talk about the complete opposite of the ring general. The promo god lives and dies by the microphone. They cut fire promos on the mic, but usually get exposed once the bell rings. Enzo Amore couldn't work a 5-star match to save his life, but put a mic in his hand and arenas would explode. The Miz built an entire Hall of Fame career on talking because his in-ring work was average at best for years. These guys understand that wrestling is storytelling first and athletic competition second. They create moments, catchphrases, and segments that trend on social media, while technical wrestlers are having forgotten classics. But here's the reality. If you can't back it up in the ring at all, your ceiling is limited. Eventually, fans want to see you deliver when the bell rings. And those who fail to develop, They get stuck in mid-card hell. The mid-carder has a good look, solid ring work, decent promos, but for whatever reason, he never breaks through that glass ceiling. Dolph Ziggler is the poster child for this archetype. Intercontinental champion multiple times, putting on great matches but never quite making it to the world title picture permanently. Cody Rhodes was stuck here in WWE before leaving and reinventing himself. Cesaro spent years as the forever mid-carder, always one push away from greatness that never came. Some mid-carders eventually escape this zone through character reinvention or a perfectly timed opportunity, but most fail to do so and spend 20-year careers being stuck in a loop of start and stop pushes. The company guy is management's golden child, the wrestler who always does what's best for business and gets the biggest rewards. John Cena perfected this role during the PG era and got pushed to the moon. The company guy shows up on time, stays out of trouble, mentors younger talent, and gets the main event spot whenever they're on the card. These guys main event WrestleMania multiple times, hold titles for months, and get opportunities that most wrestlers never see. The controversy comes when fans feel the push is undeserved or forced. Roman Reigns got booed out of buildings for years because fans saw him as the company guy getting shoved down their throats. But while the company guy works 300 days a year, the part-time attraction shows up once every 4 months and still gets the spotlight. The part-time attraction is the legend who returns for big paydays. The Rock, Brock Lesnar, and Goldberg epitomize this archetype. When their music hits, the place explodes because nostalgia is powerful and casual fans only tune in for these names. But hardcore fans resent them for taking spots from guys who are there every week. The part-timer walks in, gets handed a title shot or main event position, collects a massive check, and disappears for months while everyone else picks up the pieces. Brock Lesnar held the Universal Championship hostage for years, appearing once every 6 months while the entire roster worked around his absence. WWE keeps bringing them back because the numbers don't lie, even if the locker room morale does. But from part-time luxury to full-time punishment, let's talk about the hardcore legend. The hardcore legend built their entire career on violence. Mick Foley is the godfather here, and others like Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Sandman are other examples. The hardcore legend gets a specific type of respect because everyone knows the toll this style takes. They create iconic moments that live forever on highlight reels. But most hardcore legends are broken down by their 40s. But while the hardcore legend thrives in chaos, some wrestlers realize they're just better in pairs. The tag team specialist thrives with a partner but flops as a singles competitor. The Usos are perfect examples, dominant tag champions with incredible chemistry, but their singles runs couldn't match up. Billy Gunn without Road Dogg was nothing special. Cesaro found more success teaming with Sheamus than in his singles career. But don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a tag team specialist. Many tag team specialists went on to become legends. The Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, the New Day. These teams created moments that transcended individual accomplishments. The problem is, WWE historically treats tag team wrestling as less important than singles competition. Tag champions get pushed down the card, matches get cut for time, and storylines get abandoned. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart both started in teams and became legends. But more often, breaking up a great team just creates 2 mediocre singles wrestlers instead of 1 legendary duo. But while tag teams rely on chemistry, the genetic freak relies on his God-given gifts. The genetic freak is Vince McMahon's wet dream. It's the wrestler who walks in with the perfect physique, looking like a superhero come to life. Bobby Lashley, Batista, Ultimate Warrior, Scott Steiner, and Prime John Cena are textbook examples of this archetype. The genetic freak gets pushed immediately because they look impressive in photos and fit the larger-than-life image WWE wants to project. However, the downside is that looking great doesn't always translate to wrestling great. But when you get a genetic freak who can actually work, like Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar, you get the complete package that's nearly impossible to beat. But while the genetic freak is indestructible, the glass cannon is always one bump away from the injury list. The glass cannon has world championship potential trapped in a body made of paper. Every time they start building momentum, the injury bug bites and they're out for months. Wade Barrett had the look, charisma, and mic skills, but couldn't stay healthy long enough to reach his potential. Finn's Universal Championship reign lasted 1 day before a shoulder injury derailed everything. Daniel Bryan was forced into retirement in his prime because of concussions, and while he eventually returned, years of his peak were stolen. The glass cannon is wrestling's cruelest what-if story. Fans know they're watching something special, but there's always that dread in the back of your mind that this could be their last match before another injury. Management can't fully commit to pushing them because building your company around someone who might get injured anytime is a terrible business decision. But from serious injury concerns to not being taken seriously at all, let's talk about the comedy relief. Comedy relief exists for one purpose, and that is make people laugh. Santino Marella, Brodus Clay, R-Truth, these people were never meant to win world titles. They were meant to get quick laughs and fill time on 3-hour episodes of Raw. The comedy relief gets saddled with dancing routines, ridiculous costumes, stupid finishers, and while they might get over with kids and casual fans, hardcore fans see them as wasted potential. Some wrestlers embrace this role and make great money doing comedy bits without taking serious bumps. Others resent being the dancing fool when they know they could do more. R-Truth has made an incredible career out of comedy, staying relevant for over a decade by being genuinely funny. But for every R-Truth, there's a Brodus Clay who gets stuck with a dancing dinosaur gimmick that kills any credibility he had. The comedy relief rarely escapes this box. Once you're the joke, it's nearly impossible to become the threat. Occasionally, someone like Mick Foley transitions from comedy to serious, but it requires a complete character overhaul and management willing to give them a chance. Most comedy relief wrestlers just cash their checks, do their silly segments, and accept the rule of the game that they'll never be world champion. And speaking of rules, check out this video next about WWE's wildest unwritten rules.